From the heart of Maine, this is the DuView Podcast.
And welcome to this week's episode of the DuView Podcast. I am your host, Du, a.k.a. Ryan Dumont. And this week I am joined by Mr. Al Cloutier. Al, thank you for coming on.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Yeah, well, great
Pleasure
to have
having
you.
me.
You're great to have you, Al. And, it's I can't just describe you in one role because you're a man who wears many hats or has worn many hats and probably will continue to wear many hats. So just kind of unpack that bit by bit here. And so first and foremost, did you grow up in the Augusta area, Al, or do you call this area home?
Absolutely. I was born and raised in Augusta and went through the Augusta public school systems. Born on Jefferson Street and moved to Gilman Street there shortly thereafter. And my parents, Roland and Teresa, both lived in Augusta, and I'm one of my father's 9 children and my mother's eight children. So,
Wow.
We had a big family. We grew up on Gilman Street, right below Hodgkin School.
Yep.
And went through the Augusta public school system.
Yep. And I mean that sounds awful familiar to my dad's own upbringing. One of 8. Lived in the central part of Augusta, and so I think that was a lot of experience for a lot of folks who came to a lot of big families,
Exactly.
which I don't think you see as much nowadays, and I'm sure that has had effect on sports teams and class sizes and stuff like that for this area. But that kind of leads into my next question is, what have you seen most notably change, Al, since you're an OG and original Augusta resident to now, because things have obviously changed over the years. So what have been your most notable changes?
Mostly the neighborhoods and kids playing outside. You don't see that as much. Neighborhoods, Augusta became kind of commercialized with the Western Avenue and the malls and stuff, and took away a lot of residential neighborhoods.
Right.
And unfortunately, people started moving outside the city a little bit more, and that's why the declining enrollment at Cody High School you've seen over the years. And I think that's the biggest thing. You're not seeing as many kids playing outside, playing in the neighborhoods type of thing. So.
Yeah, and I think that definitely goes. You said like the commercialization of Augusta. I mean, you look at older pictures of Augusta. When Western Avenue was one lane each way, and they had the big trees. Were they oak trees? I think down the middle. Yeah. And I know the trees ended up getting sick, and they ended up having to tear them all out, which was too bad. But that changes the whole atmosphere and vibe of that road for this town. Anybody that's been up and down it, I mean. That would change everything.
And certainly, growing up, we had a vibrant downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Downtown Augusta was, local markets all through the city, and you had produce shops downtown, and people enjoyed the downtown area.
Yeah, and I actually, funny you mentioned all the different stores. I actually saw a post recently on Facebook. I think it was one of like the old photos of Augusta groups or one of those types of things. And they had actually like a list through the years, the last like 100 years of Augusta, all like the family markets that were situated all over, town. If you lived on Sand Hill, you went over to the market on Sand Hill. There was a couple different markets, even depending on what street you lived on, depended on what little family store you went to.
Growing up on Gilman Street, we had one right at the bottom of Gilman Street and South Belfast Avenue, which is the white apartment house now.
Oh, where End Zone is there?
Right at the bottom of Gilman Street.
Oh, yeah.
South Belfast.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
300 apartment house. Steve LaCroix lives, that owns. He used to be in the neighborhood at the bottom of Gilman Street. And then on the corner of Patterson Street, there was one. And still remember walking to Hussey's school when I was first getting into school, and there'd be a donut shop. There was a donut shop on the way there. So.
Yeah, hey, that makes the walk a little bit better anyway.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I've definitely, you're not the only person that I've talked to about, old Augusta versus new Augusta, or the changes that have come to Augusta. And it's really not even just here that has that noticeable problem of kids not playing in neighborhoods. And there's a variety of different things but you can blame video games. You can blame a lot of different, things on that. Smaller family sizes, right? I mean, it's easy to, when you have 4 or 5 kids, go entertain each other, go outside, right? And then the other families had 4 or 5 kids, and so eventually, create a larger what's the word I'm looking for? You have larger chances of having kids outside with bigger families, right?
Exactly.
And so I think that those most notable changes I've noticed, and it's not just an Augusta problem. It's a Maine problem too. It's all around our communities. They used to have these very vibrant neighborhoods, and like a neighborhood culture, so to speak, and and that kind of goes into you'd play with that area's little league team, and that if you were in the north part of town or the south
Right.
part of town, and we don't see that as much anymore. You're lucky in some places if you can even field the team, or whatever it might be.
Well, the west side of Sand Hill was all the French, the French people, and that's pretty much gone away.
Yeah. I mean, that's where my family hailed from. Other than having the Dumont farm out on the end of the 8 Rod Road, we had a lot of ties to Sand Hill and the Hill, and you talk to a lot of folks that are either Calumet Club members or whatever, and everybody can almost tie back some type of residence at some point in Augusta to the Hill.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's something that's something we don't see anyway. Actually, it's interesting that that's changed. Now we have a lot of folks of Arabic and Middle Eastern descent that live on Sand Hill and call Sand Hill home now. So that's another dynamic change there, Al, to see how things have changed culturally as well. But that being said, you played baseball growing up, as a lot of folks did, and I know you've probably been asked a bunch of questions about this, but as part of the Augusta East Little League team, you guys went to to compete in the lead up to the Little League World Series. That's a pretty big deal. So if you could, kind of go into a little bit of detail on that, tell me how the journey started. I mean, who'd you have on your team? You must have had a pretty loaded, pretty decent team, obviously, to make that type of run. So, tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, it's obviously a highlight of my athletic career and also my, my whole life career.
Right.
Life memories.
Right.
Certainly with the group of guys that we had, it was at that time Little League was pretty popular. We had 3 leagues in the city, and as I was fortunate enough to have a good coach, Ed Coffin, and my Little League coach, and was fortunate enough as an 11-year-old to make the Little League All-Star team, which was something. And we had 4 11-year-olds that started on our 11-year-old All-Star team.
Wow.
On the 12-year-old All-Star team. But
Okay. Yep.
we had our whole infield. We went to district finals that year, so we really looked forward to the next year of being together again. And
Right.
we were fortunate to have a very good coach that just recently passed away, Charlie Gallant.
Yep.
And we had the infield intact, and we had a spectacular run. We were very well drilled, had pitching and defense. It was at that time Little League baseball was one and done. There was no double elimination or anything. So
right, you lose, you go home.
Lose and go home.
Yep.
Yeah. So we made it through the district. We finally hurdled our nemesis, Auburn Suburban, in the run through the districts, and then we had to play a play-in game in order to get the state championship. And we went through South Portland. We played them down in Auburn Suburban, and that game went. I got to say 10 or 11 innings, but it was just a nail biter. So, so we were very lucky to escape that game in order to get to the state tournament. Then once you got the state tournament in Bath, we kind of cruised through that, went on to New England's New London, Connecticut, and played the best in the East. We played Pennsylvania, we played New York, we played Maryland,
and
we played New Jersey. It was
that's crazy,
spectacular baseball.
I mean, and that's going from playing your friends and neighbors in Augusta, Maine, to playing kids from other states. I mean, that must have been quite a shock, for you and the team.
Quite a shock. Obviously my first time out of the state of Maine.
Yeah,
so it was like my mother was almost 9 months pregnant with my youngest brother.
Wow.
Was born that on July 16th, right in the middle of all of this, and so it was pretty hectic. But my family followed me all the way through, and it was spectacular. And we went on, like I said, to New London, Connecticut, and had a game-saving catch by Jerry Mason in that to beat New Jersey. He robbed a home run that was going over the fence.
Wow.
we boarded the bus right after the game and went to Williamsport, where we it was a shock to us, but we had a lot of big following from Augusta that went,
Yep.
because that was the first team from the state of Maine that had gone to the World Series, and we were going to play Madrid, Spain, in the first round of the Little League World Series, and they were, of course, a bunch of Army so-called brats, but they were from all over the world, but
Yep.
they were an Army base in Madrid, Spain, and we certainly met a match with them. They shut us out 5-0 in the first game.
Yep.
And so after that, it was a letdown. But we played 2 more games there. We played Puerto Rico and Kentucky, and were able to split those 2 games, and then came home. And it was from there, I was right into school to start the year, because it was almost the end of August at that time. So it was certainly a special time in my life, and made many childhood friends, and we still get together. Last year was our 50th anniversary.
Right. Wow.
At the Augusta East complex, and they're going to dedicate a scoreboard to Charlie Gallant, our manager, who recently passed away, and that was pretty exciting to see a lot of the guys there.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I knew him actually not from through the baseball, but I actually went to school with his grandchildren.
Absolutely.
With Matty Lewis, and coached one of his Coach Gabe Lewis in soccer before he changed from Coney. But the fact of the matter being is that I've had a relation with great people. Everybody you've mentioned, still a lot of them are still in town and still around, and still are very much involved in the community and whatever else. Would you say that experience going down there, you really felt a lot of pride representing Augusta and representing the state?
Oh, absolutely. It's a talking point. Still get together and talk about it. But certainly going into junior high and into high school, that was those are the kids that had gone to the Little League World Series.
Right.
So it was something, and people recognized us throughout the community.
That's pretty neat. I mean, that must feel special too. At the same time, almost like a celebrity status, right, in Augusta.
It kind of was.
Yeah.
Certainly basketball was king at that time, and around this area with Dick Hunt coaching, and they had some great basketball teams. So.
Yeah, that's true. Basketball has been, especially girls hoops up here, has been a big, in more recent, with Coach Vashon and that whole era, and beyond. It's amazing for the area, as small as we are. We've turned out some pretty impressive athletes.
Oh, exactly.
And whether it's especially in the sport of baseball, we have some pretty ace kids come out of not only this area but of the state.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that being said, later on, as we get older, I'm sure you played through high school and everything like that, right? You played high school ball.
I graduated from Coney, 1976. I played football, baseball, and basketball in high school.
The big 3. Yep.
Wasn't much of a football player. Quit after my freshman year, football, and basketball. I was on the JVs, never made the varsity, but I still had a love for the game, which I still do. And then I went on to college at Husson College, and then came back to the area. Had a career at Central Maine Power Company.
Yep. And then so as you come out, and later on you stop playing for a little bit, or maybe you play recreationally. So eventually you get into coaching. I'm at a point where I recently got back into coaching myself. I had worked with John Millett when he was coaching the boys soccer team a few years after I had gotten out, and then got back involved with Marcio, and we had actually a pretty successful. Made it to the 2 rounds into the playoffs this year, which is pretty exciting. We got to play got to play the first big playoff game on the turf, on Fuller Field now, and so it was a really exciting bit. But what I'm getting to, Al, is that you get to a point in life where you say, I love this sport so much, and I know a lot about this sport. Insert sport here. I need to give back in some capacity and pass on and help form the next generation of players. So when did you get into coaching? Because you've coached for quite a while, and are well known as a coach in this area.
Like I said, I had 3 younger brothers.
Yep.
So I coached. I got involved coaching mostly with them. I coached some Pee Wee basketball at the YMCA.
Yep.
I had a love for that. And I coached with Harry Landfair, used to be the director of the YMCA. I've had Bill Burney. Some of these guys.
Yep.
So I coached Pee Wee basketball, and then I coached junior football and had a great time with that.
Yep.
My youngest brother Aaron and his class that went to an Eastern Maine final. I coached them in junior high and was really proud to be part of that. But obviously, my love was with baseball, and
Right.
I think I had my first start in Babe Ruth. I coached my brother Andy, which is my next youngest brother, and coached a couple of years at the Babe Ruth at Capitol Park. And that's a tough age group to coach. Babe Ruth starting out, kids don't always show up. A lot of times we'd be struggling to get 9 players here, but
Right.
it was a fun time. I got a little bit ahead of myself, thinking I wanted to coach the All-Star team and that type of thing. And
Right.
it was some of the older coaches coached year in and year out. So I kind of got soured a little bit, got out of it for a few years,
Yep.
and then was hauled back into it with Mike Delois, who was coaching American Legion baseball, and so I assisted Mike Delois in Legion baseball, and that led to my career at Coney and also Augusta American Legion.
Yep. And so when did you take over? Were you were head coach for the Coney boys?
Yes,
team?
I first year's coaching at Coney with Coach Jeff Trundy was 89 and 90. That was my younger brother Aaron's junior and senior year. They had a good group. Like I said, I coached him in junior football. So I came on as assistant coach, and Jeff Trundy was my head coach my last year at Coney in 76. That was the year he came on. So I coached with him for a couple of years as assistant coach. We were fortunate to win back-to-back state championships. We beat Oxford Hills at St. Joe's in 89, 90 year. And then the following year, we beat South Portland at the University of Maine at Orono. So we had back-to-back state championships. And then I decided to take over the JV program. So I took over the JV program for about 5 or 6 years. And then that led up to, unfortunately, Coach Trundy's dismissal from the team. And I took over as an interim basis. And little did I know that the athletic director, Ron Canoyer, at the time would want me as full-time coach.
It
So
wasn't just an interim; it was a long-term gig.
as it turned, we were pretty successful, and we had great baseball players, great tradition that Coach Trundy had built, John Coughlin had built over the years, and it was big shoes to fill. Coach Trundy was spectacular. Kids all loved him, and it was a hard break off, but so I coached for 8 years on the varsity after that interim year, and I got done in 2006. So.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's it's definitely interesting, the folks we coach with and how they form how we become coaches. Same thing. You wanted to continue on the skills and the legacy that had been taught to you through your mentors, and that's how I feel when I step on the field. Like I think about am I doing what am I doing right by Millet? Am I doing right by who taught me how to coach? You know what I'm saying? That type of thing, and that's a unique thing to be able to coach youth. It's a difficult skill. It really is. It's a lot like, I spent a year in the classroom teaching, in the pandemic last year, and it's like I'm glad I had actually spent time coaching prior to, because it does help. In those situations, because especially like I had middle school age kids, and as doing junior football and stuff, it's like herding cats.
Yeah, exactly.
But so the first team you coached was one of your brother's teams, and so you said you played baseball, football, and basketball growing up. Did you have any, other interest, in trying to coach any of those, or was it just because out of the love of baseball?
I did coach, like I said, Pee Wee basketball, junior football, but I always thought I'd, like to be a football coach, but just work. And my time with baseball took up the majority of it. So, like I said, once I started coaching with the varsity and the JV, so I got into American Legion, so my whole summers were tied up with that. And, we play a 20, 25 game schedule. So so there was a lot of burnout there.
Yeah, I feel that. It's just, and it's hard, working and coaching at the same time. I'm not going to pretend it's easy.
I was very fortunate because I didn't have I'm not in education, so that was a tough part about coaching at high school.
Right.
It's not being right there in the school system.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to have some great bosses at Central Maine Power Company.
They were just super understanding.
Bob Howe, Rachel Michaud, Charlie Bonney. I had some wonderful people that I worked for that allowed me to have some free time and come back and make the time up at other times.
Be understanding.
Very flexible, and not all businesses would be like that.
No, well, and it's humanizing in a lot of ways. That's the way I describe it. It's having good, we hear a lot with the pandemic and burnout and everything like that. Having good work-life balance with a lot of people working from home now, and the same thing extends to just folks that go out and work a normal day job too. You got to make time for yourself and the things that you like, because that's the one thing I'm wrestling with, with the next year, starting a new career, still learning new things, and then still wanting to continue to coach, because I've got a good group of boys that are going to be crafted into a good, it's exciting, you know what I'm saying? When you leave off with a good group, you're going to lose some seniors, obviously, and that breaks your heart, but you still know that you have a lot of good stuff that you can bring back next year, and that's the thing that keeps bringing you back probably year after year, right? It's the excitement of the next season.
Yeah,
and so
it was toughest time was when you lost, if you reach a state championship game, you lose the state championship game, and I was down for a couple of weeks after that.
Yeah.
It's a hard recovery, and you got probably 9 more months before you coach those kids again, and some of them move on, and we didn't accomplish the goal that we wanted to. So
yeah, and I lucked out. Al, this year I had my last year coaching before college and everything got crazy, and I wasn't home for an extended amount of time. They were freshmen. I started with them. They're now seniors. They're graduating this year, so I got to coach them both in their freshman and in senior years, and that meant a lot to me. I talked about that. I had Marcio on a few episodes ago, and we talked about that. One of them being actually his son Gabe. And, it was a really special moment for me being at their senior night and everything like that, because it was like, I started with these guys when they were like, babies, they're little guys, and now they're, going on to college.
Hopefully you're still there coaching my brother's grandson, Brady Cloutier, who's 7th grade now. He's a very good soccer player, and hopefully he's going to play in high school.
Love to have him.
A chance to
we're building up the feeder program, Al, so we'll be scouting.
Yeah. He's a good one. One.
That's another, I guess I'll ask your opinion, being a sports guy, seeing soccer come into the area, what has that been? And we're going to talk about, the Capillary Recreation Association a little bit later, CASA and all that good stuff. But the fact of the matter, how has, soccer kind of entered, and other sports like lacrosse too, that have entered the realm? I know that it's had an effect on, lacrosse has had an effect on baseball.
That was kind of my downfall, and it kind of getting squeezed by lacrosse some, and I got soured by it a little bit, but it allowed so many more kids to play and not be as structured. We were a little bit more structured in baseball than lacrosse was at that time.
Yep.
And a lot of the kids in the spring didn't want that much structure. So I was losing some good athletes
I'm sure,
from baseball to lacrosse, and it started to wear on me a little bit, and I guess it was probably burnout type of thing, but So I got done at Coney. I thought the timing was right. I wish I had left it, because I've had 3-4 coaches since then. But Coach Plord, now coaching the high school team's been there almost 10 years. So he's brought back some stability to that the program. And before him was Ray Valley and Dennis Dacus and Rex Turner. So I've actually had 4 coaches since I've been there. Been done, and they were all great coaches, but left after a year or two or a couple of years.
I had actually Mr. Dacus was my homeroom teacher. When I was at Coney, he was great. He's down in Booth Bay now, I believe.
And Rex had played ball for me. He was one of the greatest players to ever come out of Coney. And when he took over, I thought it was going to be his job for a long time, but it just wasn't in his personality and stuff. And he's got younger kids coming up that now he's coaching, and he's got 3 younger kids. So
sometimes life has different plans, right?
He's an outdoorsman, and he's a great person, and I got a lot of respect for Rex Turner. So.
And that's the thing, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier about coaching. Sometimes you hit it right on the head, and you run with it, and you have a long career, and sometimes it's not all in one spin or all in one go. Sometimes, like with me, I had a great time when I was coaching 3 summers in a row. But then just given life and college and busyness and other things, I couldn't. And, you miss it. Do you miss it at all? Not
No,
coaching?
no. Once I got done with it, I was fine.
Yep.
I continued to coach American Legion for a little while. And
Yep.
Came back, coached 2 or 3 different stints in Babe Ruth when when some of my brother's sons played. So I coached a couple of years at a time. I found I was much more laid back at that time. And of course, I was building a basketball officiating career. So as I saw what coaches put officials through, sometimes I had a better realization of it. I was much more laid back.
Yeah.
Not that I was hard on officials, but I took the game pretty serious. And
I understand. Yeah.
when I came back and coached just as a hobby, I was much more relaxed and
Right.
enjoyed it more. And once I left the field, I left it there.
Yep.
I wasn't bringing it home with me at nights and
Right.
losing sleep over decisions I made or parents I upset or
Oh, yeah.
kids that didn't go their way.
Oh, yeah.
You're with these kids all the time, during practice and stuff, and you live through them sometimes, and
Yeah.
Their failures and their success.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's it. You're channeled through them, and in part they live through you, and you live through them in a lot of ways. Because again, for a lot of time for those folks, you are that mentor, that guiding light for a lot of folks. And at the same time, there where you were at one point, and you're like, dang, I wish I could go back and do that some days. Like I wish I could go and kick the ball in the field. I mean, trust me, I feel it. And with the officiating part too, that's a good perspective to have, because I find myself even sometimes getting a little upset with officials. And I mean, it's not so much that that Coney needs to get the call every time. It's that I want a safe and productive game. Yeah. And I mean, it's the same. I'm sure you're the same way. Yeah. It's not like, no, well, I didn't get the call, or you missed that. That should have been a strike, not a ball, or whatever. But it is interesting to have that perspective, and I try to slow my roll, I guess, in a lot of ways when I'm dealing with officials, because at the end of the day, it's not their main job. You know what I'm saying? They took a course on a weekend, at least they're out there, and they have to retrain and whatever, but they're having a ref shortage, just like anything. I remember talking with the head ref, Brad Lunn. I don't know if you know Brad, but he actually coached me back in the day when I played travel soccer, and he was telling me that he goes like, you can complain about him, but we don't have anybody else to send, so you might get the one that you still complain about.
Exactly, and they got families to go home to.
Right.
Some of them take it home with them also. And it's you're not gonna make any friends.
No.
Somebody's gonna be right, somebody's gonna be wrong.
Yeah, that is it at the end of the day, and it's just like you said, slowing down a little bit. I think that's an important thing for any coaches listening out there, that to remind yourself sometimes. Sometimes you can't always be so straight edge and so hard. You just gotta pull back on the accelerator just a little bit.
Exactly.
I think that's a good piece of advice, Al, for the most part, most definitely rather. So what role would you say that baseball, to kind of wrap up baseball here, Al, what would you say that baseball has had on your life? What has baseball done for you?
Oh, it's maybe the person I am, really. I think hard work pays off. Relationships with people has been incredible. Parents of kids that I've coached. I always respected the coaches I had, and hopefully it was the same way. Maybe they didn't always agree with my decisions, but in those years I had so many talented players. It was hard to decipher. And I see myself personally was probably my better days athletically were after my high school career. I think I developed a little bit later in life, and playing quarterback in mud football and playing softball and basketball officiating and all these other things. I think I think my true athleticism came out a little bit later in life.
Yeah, and I mean that is sometimes the case. I mean, I know that me personally, I mean, I played a lot of my good sports years or in my younger time, because when I got to college, I blew my ACL out. You know what I'm saying? Playing rugby, and so like it's just at different times when you hit it, and you just got to appreciate. At the end of the day, you got to appreciate the time that you did play and look back on those memories.
exactly.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can look back at that World Series, trip where that's I mean that must just feel so special at the end of the day, Al.
It really is.
Yeah.
People have no clue what it was like to just just the grind of it, and mentally how it was. And like I said, we were kind of like rock stars in the city of Augusta at 12 years old. It was truly amazing, and but certainly made lifetime memories.
Yeah, most definitely. So, speaking of more recent memories, we have an organization. I'll let you explain because you've been a member a little bit longer than I have. But that being said, I recently joined CARA. And so if you could describe for my listeners in your own words as what CARA is, just kind of go into detail. Because I think you're a good descriptor for CARA.
Well, Capital Area Recreation Association. Originally, I was involved with just the Augusta Bay Ruth itself, and then it led to getting on the CARA board also. So I had kind of a dual role, and had some great mentors with Joe Linscott and Dennis Toll and all the original CARA members. But CARA is Capital Area Recreation Association is a pretty special organization that's provided recreation activities for so many youths in the Augusta and surrounding towns. It's incredible. The playing fields that and the dreams of this original founders of it,
Most
like
definitely,
in
the founding fathers.
1974, and how they got all these fields built with little or no taxpayer dollars is just incredible, and hard work and just foresight, and of course Joe Linscott being the driving force behind it, and I see how hard he worked, and
every day,
and I was beside him, so that's where I kind of get my work ethic from, as far as that goes. And sometimes I won't leave the field until the last piece of trash is picked up. It might be 9 o'clock at night, and I'll be out in the dark, still mowing with no headlights, but. So it's really a unique organization, and we're very fortunate in the city of Augusta and the taxpayers to not have any tax dollars that go to that facility, and still have a group of dedicated volunteers, whether it be softball, Little League, basketball, soccer, lacrosse, Babe Ruth baseball, at times we've held on by a thread, as far as, but it's very, very rewarding to spend that much time, but it's certainly addicting too also.
Oh,
and,
it is.
Unless you've got somebody to pass it on to, you never stop. Each year, Joe Linscott, John Falona, and some of these guys, they said, you want to make sure you do something new each year. You don't want to be satisfied with what you have. You want to keep adding on to it.
Right. And I think that spirit, I mean, I as to add on, I recently officially joined the CARA board. I've been, around and volunteered and played numerous hours at these complexes, playing various sports, mostly soccer, and also, at that end. But I mean, I've played, I did baseball clinics down at the other end. And when I played middle school ball for St. Mike's, we also played down at the baseball. And so I've used, other parts of the complex. And, since I've joined just the first meeting I've been to, you can tell that spirit, though, of doing something new is still there. I mean, we have committees forming to do new and great things for the complex, assuming all of, everything falls into place and everything, works out, it is going to be continued to be added upon and continued in not just field, but, new stuff, and improving, whether it be adding irrigation or, fixing the road or, doing things differently or adding lights or, whatever that might be.
Yeah, there's certainly many projects coming down through the road that had a core group of people that put all there's probably 10 or 12 of them that were the bulls of it, and they knew the doors to knock on in the city. The contractors have been amazing. The businesses in Augusta have been support, our golf tournament, all our fundraisers type of things.
The auction,
because they get knocked.
Everything.
We're always constantly knocking on their doors. It's not cheap, and we try to keep it reasonable for all the kids, so that everybody gets a chance to play. And
Right.
sometimes it's hard, but it's very rewarding in some regards.
Yes, and that's very true. And so, just if you could go into, so why was Kara started? Like any town has recreation fields through like the city government and municipality, but why did the founding fathers feel the need to start this
There
organization?
at one time there was a city manager or a recreation director that recreation wasn't important to the city, and they weren't providing upkeep in the facilities, and didn't have a plan for increased recreational activities. So this group that originally started the Augusta Little League or whatever, probably half of it was their board of directors type of thing, and got a group together and had a plan, got something from the with the local government, Bennett Cates, and were able to secure some land over there and had access to the Maine Army National Guard and some contractors, and had a plan and just
Planning a dream, right?
bulldogged it.
Yep.
And it's amazing. We had a 40th anniversary, and Joel and Scott put together a program that was second to none. I mean, he outlined everything that had been done, and pretty much everybody that had picked up a shovel there type of thing, and everybody's had a part in it, the whole
Right.
community. It's something that the community can be proud of.
Oh, most definitely. And I think that regardless of how it's known by people, those fields on the Piggery Road, Cara, Casa, whatever group you know it by, organization, that road and our organization is quite special in a lot of ways. I think I'm so lucky to have been able to play, and have access to such a complex, because people come here and they, regardless if they're playing on the baseball fields, the soccer fields, or whatever, they say, "Wow, this is nice." That's the first thing, or "Wow, this looks great." The first thing they always say, because we have a hard-working group of people that take care, of things, that mow, and that's getting mowed by us, by volunteers, by all the different organizations.
Just from my personal perspective, when I was growing up, we had one baseball field. Coley played at Capitol Park.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth played at Capitol Park. Everybody played at Capitol Park.
Football played at Capitol Park.
There was no maintenance crew per se. Sometimes the lawn would be mowed, sometimes it wouldn't.
Right.
Sometimes there'd be puddles, and you'd have to play in puddles, and it's to see what the kids have now, and it's pretty special. And
Yeah, no, it most definitely is. And so, at your end with Babe Ruth, so what's like a day to day? Just give people perspective into like the work that goes on. What's like an average day during the summertime for you, or getting ready for a tournament or something like that. Just
well, I'm kind of involved in everything.
Right.
Whether it's maintenance, planning, or I was Babe Ruth president for 10 years, so ran a lot of tournaments with the help of Bob Burns and Joel Linscott and Walt Golden and some of these Gary Markoff and some of these other people that did a lot of the field work and stuff. So I started doing the administrative parts of it and took over that and kind of run a couple New England tournaments and stuff like that. And it's certainly a busy day. American Legion tournaments that we've run, it's probably 14-hour day for me. Usually there, I'm usually there at 6 o'clock in the morning, or when the sun comes up, and a lot of times I won't leave till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. Till the last piece of trash is picked up. And,
Right.
We've run a lot of major tournaments and raised a lot of money, and that we've poured right back into the facility. But
Right.
It's been a hard work, but now I'm pretty much president of Babe Ruth is Mike Bichard, and he's been at it 3-4 years now. But so I run the concession stand. I like to cook. I got that from Bob Burns, because Bob was always the one that
Man the grill.
Bob's Kitchen, and
Yep.
kind of took over for him. And my mother always ran the concession at Little League, so I always watched her do those things. So I got a passion for that, but I also got a passion for mowing lawn, like Joel and Scott, and prepping fields, like Walt Golden. And,
Right.
So I kind of get involved in too much, and a lot of times I don't delegate things to other people as much as I get the job done myself. A
Yep.
lot of times this is what I sometimes hate to ask, but you do have to ask. Some people are waiting to be asked.
Yeah.
So if you don't ask, they don't give you a chance to say no. So.
Right. Well, and I think that's the great thing about, too, like, the different organizations being as close as they are. Like, that if Babe Ruth needs a hand, soccer would gladly help out. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And vice versa. And we're so close. Like, we'll be, up there doing our thing, and we'll look over, and then you and Steve will appear on the gator out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Well,
Like that.
I've been involved in some projects up and down the road, with the basketball courts and fencing at down to soccer that we've had the Kara group together.
Yep.
The bleachers that were put up at Morton Field, that was a major project. Soccer field, when they were being built, I wasn't involved in that as much. I was still involved in baseball, but I was amazed at the crew they had down there. I just stayed out of people's way.
Right.
They knew what they were doing a hell of a lot more than I did.
They had
so.
quite a crew involved. Dave. And so that's another thing I was going to go into too. I didn't know if you knew this, but I actually worked as the fields had like a hired employee during the summer. I actually had that job for 5 years.
Yeah, that's
and so
amazing.
I loved it. Honestly, and so I know what you mean by your addiction to just want to sit there and mow a lawn or do whatever.
Yeah, we've had a couple of interns that have also worked for us. Jake Galbert was pretty special. Matt Steinman and Andrew Steinman, and there's been a few others that have worked. But it's hard to find.
Yeah, and I loved it though. I mean, it was an awesome gig because I'd just finished practice. I'd take my cleats off, and I'd hop on the lawnmower, and I'd just
there's plenty of grass to mow out there. That's for sure.
There is. Or one day, this is my one Joe Linscott story. I was out there fixing the road, and it was like 90 degrees. I had run out of things to do, and so the dirt road, it always has major potholes in it. And there was one really deep one at one time that I was fixing, and Joe drove by in his little red car, and he, stopped and says, "You look like you're working awful hard." He's sitting there in the air conditioning and whatever, and he goes, "You know what? I've got an idea." So he comes down with the tractor. I think he probably just wanted an excuse to get the tractor out. But that being said, he came down and he helped me, dig up and fix that hole that I was doing with, the gator and a shovel and a rake.
Yep.
And that's the type of cooperation. That's the type of spirit. That's the type of goodwill and good vibes that embodies this organization. I think that's started by a great group of people that just want to have good quality places for the youth of Augusta and the area to play. And I think that's something real special that we have. What would you say the biggest need for Kara is?
I think younger involvement. People that have come through the area have played at some of those fields. Unfortunately, a lot of the younger generations moved away from the city, but there's still, there's people that have moved to the area that have no idea as to what really goes on over there. And so I think that's the biggest thing is getting more involvement from the younger generation. Then possibly an endowment fund, possibly which would possibly allow us to hire an executive director type of thing to manage the complex as a whole.
Right.
I think that's a good possibility. I know we work so hard fundraising year to year. If there was any way we could build up an endowment fund and be able to tap into that annually, certainly that would relieve because needless to say, Steve Brooks and myself aren't going to be there forever, as Walt Golden and Joe Linscott weren't going to be there forever. And
right.
You look at the softball organization, Paul Potvin and Ray Bowden, the time they put in. They're both early 70s and stuff like that. So you definitely need younger people to come in, and like I said, possibly down the road, an executive director or something like that. You hate to. It's pretty much an all volunteer organizations,
right.
But somebody on a day-to-day basis that could
just to manage the day-to-day.
Yeah.
And I mean that, and it gets to a point where you probably do need somebody to manage the day-to-day. Enough goes on, especially when the whole complex is up and running, that you could need somebody to.
Oh, some of the aerial photographs when that place is hopping in the summer, and
it's amazing.
You got people coming up and down that road. It's truly amazing. And,
it's impressive. I know when we had the soccer tournament that one day that I played in and coached in at the end of August there. it was incredible. Just to see, like not only was the parking lot, the whole lower dirt parking lot filled, but like all the available grass around Youth Memorial or around the outside of the fence was full. The parking lot, that we weren't, saving up by Babe Ruth for buses was also full.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes you love doing it. Right?
Sometimes you think you got plenty of parking over there, but then you run a tournament, and we've run several state tournaments for the MPA,
Yep.
and we've filled that Morton parking lot, and every space in there we've had 3,000 people there.
Oh, yeah.
At some of the games, and it's people love to come to our facility. Really, I mean, all the work's done for them, so
Right. Yeah,
they
you
love
just gotta
it.
show up.
Just
Yeah,
show
yeah.
up.
So that being said, as I said earlier in the beginning of the episode, it's hard to identify you as one guy because you've worn the hat of coach and CARA member, and you also volunteer time with the Augusta Food Bank. I know you're involved down there as well. So when you're not volunteering your time, what do you do to have fun out? Like, what do you do in your free time?
Well, I officiated basketball for 37 years,
Yep.
so that was a grind. Got done. I haven't done it since COVID started the last couple of years.
Right.
But, I've had a very, very successful basketball officiating career that just took off, and it was really busy. Kept me busy in the winters.
Oh yeah.
It's gave me my exercise, that type of thing. But
Yeah, running up and down
I've
the
always
court.
liked working out in the gym, that
Yep.
type of thing. Outdoors, spending time with family. Not much for water skiing or anything like that, but I do love to go to the ocean, walk the beach, that
Yep.
type of thing. Like I said, I still go to a lot of basketball games. I like
Yep.
sporting events.
Oh yeah.
I got tickets to Boston College footballs, which
Yeah,
I
you go down to Boston
I
quite a
go
bit.
down to
Yep.
4 or 5 games down there. Love that. Grew up with a love for boxing. My father was a boxer. My younger brother Adam was a successful amateur boxer. So I
Oh,
always
wow.
had a love for boxing.
All right.
As far as that goes,
So
but
since you're a
that's-
boxing guy, I gotta ask then, what's your take on the the Liston Ali fight? What happened there?
There was a lot of people that said they were there.
Yeah.
That probably weren't, but I think my father was there.
Yep.
Believe it or not. And,
Really?
it
Yep.
was. It's not one of the brighter moments of boxing.
No, but I think that's a fascinating sport though, and I think that a lot of your amateur boxing is really fascinating to still watch. Like they still have like smaller title fights and stuff at like the new Encore, the Wynn Casino down in Boston and stuff like that, and other gyms in the area. I don't have a lot of time for like these big prize fights like the Pacquiao, whatever. I mean, it's not really the boxing I'm trying to watch. Like everything leading up to that, all the the prelims are more that, you know what I'm saying? But like when they have like this, I'm not like MMA, but like actual boxing.
Well, I always
yeah.
grew up, would go to the Portland Expo every Thursday night.
Yep.
My father and mother, and I'd tag along with my aunts and uncles, and would go watch live professional boxing
Oh, wow.
at the Portland Expo. That was a tradition for many years. So I
Yep.
grew up with it, and then we started following amateur boxing. Like I said, my brother got involved, and I had like 19 fights, and
Yep.
I was pretty successful at it. And the golden gloves and Lowell Mass
Yep.
and that type of thing.
Yeah,
And
that's
Portland Boxing Club. Augusta had a pretty successful boxing club also, and
Yep.
actually promoted a couple of boxing shows at the Augusta Armory when
Yep.
my brother was boxing, and
That's cool.
yeah, that was pretty special. And used to fill the Augusta Armory. We'd have over 1,000 people in there.
Wow.
It was amazing. I don't get into martial arts and the MMA
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
type of thing. It doesn't really interest me in boxing. For the last several years, I haven't paid much attention
Right.
to either.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
think
sort
anybody
of just
has.
like the modern boxing. Just
Kind of.
kinda-
I watch some football, and also get a love for watching the Bruins play hockey.
Yep.
And never playing hockey and never really ice skating that much. I don't know. I just fell in love with watching the Bruins.
I'm glad they called Swayman back up.
Yeah, that's
It's
awesome.
been tough.
That is awesome.
I love that kid. I
Yeah.
mean, also he went to Maine, so we're a little biased, right?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of unfortunate. Just the ticket prices just.
Oh, that too.
Just I'd love to go down to more games, that type of thing.
Right. Oh.
Stuff like seeing a live hockey game.
Oh yeah, I love live. I mean, when the I mean, I know they have the Maine Mariners now again, but the Portland Pirates was something special, to have that right in Portland. Yeah. It was funny actually. I was down in Boston with my dad, and we ended up going to a Worcester Ice Cats game, and they were playing the Portland Pirates, but we were in Worcester.
Because I got a love for the Red Sox. I follow them.
Yeah,
eternally.
I'm surprised you don't have your hat on.
Yeah, and it was actually fortunate enough to see them win 5 World Championships, which I never thought I would.
Yeah,
and actually in 2004, when they won the first one, my grandfather was 89 at the time, I believe, and he had never seen a Red Sox. And he wasn't an athlete or whatever,
right.
but he followed the Red Sox. He lived and died with the Red Sox on the radio and stuff.
Oh.
And
he must have had some tough times in the 60s and 70s when they got close, and it's just not, it's
exactly. The younger generation doesn't know how fortunate they are, because the New England teams, besides the Celtics, they weren't much it's on the national spotlight.
Right. Yeah. No. And we said that in college when we watched like back-to-back Patriots basically back-to-back Patriots Super Bowls. We're like, we are so lucky.
Yeah.
Either we're gonna bring in some more freak athletes like we've had on these teams, or we're really gonna suck.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not the latter, because Boston is such a unique city in the sense that when it comes to sports, and this region really, we wear our hearts on our sleeves when it comes to the teams we support. Yeah. And I mean, like, I know you're a big Red Sox guy, and I mean, we've actually gone to a Red Sox game together. Yeah. Actually, yeah. You were with us that time that we went down to Fenway. Let me see here. Do you ever go down to spring training at all?
I haven't been in quite some time, but I do enjoy that, and love to be able to spend some time retirement. But as of right now, I'm working like 4 days a week at the food bank, like I said. So
right.
It's tough to get away.
Right.
But,
most definitely.
Maybe in a couple of years. Spend
some
extended time if they ever get back, on the field.
Right. And so, being as in depth the baseball as you are, I know that there's like the classic debate right now between, like, I guess you'll call it the nerds and the stats people versus the let baseball be baseball. Where do you kind of fall on that?
Let baseball be baseball.
I kind of figured, but so do you think that there's any spot for that type of stuff? Like, I don't know if you want to call it like the Moneyball stuff, or like kind of like what they did out in Oakland, and then also on the Red Sox in the early 2000s, like that type of stuff, or is it like I've heard it's like, and when they throw some of these stats out, I've never even heard of the stat before, like the earned run on base backwards percentage or something like that. It's like
just playing the percentages, lefty righty, that type of thing. And it's just, a good pitcher will beat any good hitter.
Right.
So, whether he's right-handed, left-handed, or whatever.
Doesn't matter. If he's good, he's good, right? Yeah. So what would you say? Wrapping things up here, is your favorite part about living in the state of Maine? Why calling Maine home for as long as you have? What's special about it? Why is it been a great place to call home?
Oh, I just love the seasons. Like I said, I don't do a lot in the winter as far as snowmobile and ice fishing or anything like that, but I do like the snow.
Right.
I would certainly miss the snow if I moved away to a warmer environment. But,
right.
Like I said, I do love the beaches in the summer. And the fall's my favorite time of the year, and to be outside, I could be outside all day in the fall.
Oh yeah.
So it's just that, to me, is the best part of the season. It's
having those 4 distinct seasons.
Because in the spring, you never know what you're gonna get for weather, that type of thing, and then you go from 40 degrees to 100. And
oh yeah. We were just talking. Actually, my dad and I were just talking about that. We were talking about golf, and he goes, I hit a golf ball at Western View or wherever, or maybe Natanis. I forget where they were playing, one of the two, on like March 29th or March 27th last year. It's like, the springs are a whole mixed bag. Like, sometimes you're out in shorts, and sometimes you still have your ski suit on.
I've got so many friends that play golf and stuff, but it's never really something I really cared for that much.
Me too,
played,
buddy.
Played a little bit, it's just...
Yeah, I mean, I can go hack it up with the best of them, right? Yeah. I mean, that's about it when I play.
Camaraderie's good and stuff.
Yeah.
It's it's something you want to be good at. Otherwise,
you can get pretty frustrated with yourself,
and you get brutalized. Because there's no mercy on the golf course.
No, it's like, oh wow, you had a bad shot there. I'm just gonna drop it right in. I don't care. Well, anyway, Al, that being said, thank you so much for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. I know you've been a coach for many years in this area and a mentor to many. And I know when I mentioned you were coming on, a few folks were pretty excited. So I greatly appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, so to come on and talk about Augusta and talk about sports, then and now. I mean, because things have changed, and it's good to have some perspective on someone who's been at many different facets of the sporting world.
It's great. It's great that what you're doing to carry on the tradition and enlighten people as to what might be going on in the city, and want to be a part of it. Hopefully,
and that's it.
Hopefully, I'm involved with it many more years. I hope.
Yes, I hope so too. I look forward to working with you more on the Cara board and various things there as well, Al. And I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And like I said, just want to highlight Augusta and Maine life, because we're blessed. We are very, very lucky to be where we are.
Maybe someday we'll get on the Maine Life show.
Yeah, maybe. Well, anyway, so thank you, Al. Cloutier, for coming on. Greatly appreciate it. And thank you, all of you, for listening. Sorry about the little delay. Life gets busy, and so that's why we've been delayed a week on an episode. But we're back, and we'll be back on a consistent schedule here for the next foreseeable future here. So thank you for tuning in. As always, hit us up on social media at DuView207 on Instagram, and the DuView podcast just about everywhere else. So thank you for tuning in this week. Be back in another couple weeks with another new episode of the DuView podcast. Leave a review if you have the time. Greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.